All right, and we are good to go.
Excellent. I'm going to share my screen and let you know that for those of you who just tuned in, that I am Alexandra Pickett, and I am the Director of Online Teaching here at SUNY Online. And with me today is my friend and colleague, Erin Maney. Erin, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Yep. So I'm Erin Maney, also with SUNY Online, and I manage our community engagements. So you've probably seen my face on some of these before or in your emails. So I'm really happy that you could all be here.
So I'm sitting here in my kitchen. We're still working remotely, and I am in a little village a little west of Albany called Scotia, New York, and right on the banks of the Mohawk River pretty much. And Erin is out in Geneva, right, Erin?
Yep, right in the middle of the Finger Lakes.
Yep.
I'm also at my kitchen table.
So we're here today. If you're interested in teaching online, you're in the right place, because this webinar today that you've chosen to, come and spend your lunchtime with us to learn more about is about a self-paced resource that we have created for faculty and instructional designers and administrators, really anyone, librarians, student support people, anyone who's interested in getting sort of fundamental understandings about what it means to teach online. And the first thing I wanted to share with you is that this resource that we created, a number of people were involved in contributing to it. A lot of people from our own community. You'll see in some of the videos, and in putting together the core competencies that we designed quite a number of years ago, that we put together a team of people. And so you can see here the number of people who have contributed to this resource. I am going to give you an overview of the resource and how to use it. And all of the links that I'm going to show you, Erin is going to put in the chat, and you'll be able to return to any of these links and pages after the session. And we provide a recording of the session as well, so you'll be able to continue to access or view and review any of the resources and pages and information that we talk about today. So sort of as an overview, and if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat, and Erin is going to help me manage the chat and either respond to the question or at the end, I'll be happy to hang out here and talk to anyone about any of this and answer any of your questions. So this resource, this Interested in Teaching Online resource, is a free and openly licensed self-paced online resource that's designed to do a number of things. It's designed to help you check your readiness to be successful in teaching online. It's to review common terms related to online teaching and learning, to kind of make sure we're all, when we say, for example, asynchronous, that we're all talking about what we mean by asynchronous, and to kind of level set those definitions. It's to also help you make sure that you know the core competencies needed to teach online. It's to explain the value of applied effective online teaching practices in kind of a general way. It's to provide an overview of some of the benefits and affordances of teaching online, to give you a sense of why it might be interesting to you to do it. It's also intended to help you see if online teaching might be right for you, to give you some additional information to see if it's something that you would be interested in. And it's also intended to introduce you to the SUNY online community of practice, where you can meet others like all of us in the room right now, and a vast network of people across SUNY and beyond that are interested in online teaching and learning. And so you can network and ask questions and get help and share what interests you about online teaching and learning. And so part of, I think, what is the strength of our community is that we are able to do that kind of networking and facilitation of networking by events like this and other online tools that we have to support interaction, networking, and community. So this resource is really intended for anyone who's interested in learning more about online teaching. Like I said, faculty, administrators, deans and department chairs, librarians, technologists, faculty developers, instructional designers, and of course, online, any kind of online support staff, including student supports folks. So I want to give you a quick tour of the resource. So there's two ways that you can engage in this self-paced resource. You have the option of following a kind of a more structured, mapped out journey. Or you can explore all the same content by following your own meandering way. Both of the options are self-paced, meaning you can complete the activities in the course on your own and at your own pace. In the mapped out journey, you are provided with a more formal path that kind of guides you step by step through, kind of in a logical way through the materials, the activities, and the assessments. And you can keep track of what you've done with the little handy checklist that holds on the same browser, on the same laptop. Those little check marks will hold, so that you can kind of keep track of the things that you have completed, and return to it another day, to continue going through the course. You begin the process with some online faculty readiness activities, and you complete several assessments and view several videos for an overview of the basics in online teaching and to check your technical skills. So let me just show you what's here. All of these things are clickable, and there's these videos. You may recognize some of the people in the videos. They're either from SUNY or very well known in the online teaching and learning community. And Eric here is a SUNY employee and a former online student. Oops. And Clark Shaw Nelson there used to be at SUNY Delhi. And then we have a number of faculty here under I Heart Teaching Online that from our own community. So SUNY colleagues and peers were interviewed for that. And some myths about online teaching. That's a great resource for instructional designers who might be wanting to adapt that or adopt that into some of their faculty development activities. I've posted here's underneath, when you look at, like, here's the basics. So this is the link that's underneath there. And so it's basically just a little self-assessment so that you can understand what some of the basic skills are that you need. And there are a number of them. You can see there's computer skills, there's word processing skills. So these are all little self-assessments, internet skills, email skills, and sounds a little basic. And it is, because we want to make sure that everyone has those basics before they find themselves in a training room you know, unprepared or underprepared in some of these basic skills. So this is really, really an entry level course to check your readiness and make sure that you have all of the technical competencies necessary to proceed to actually teaching online. Oh, that was Eric. That's an example of the self-assessment. And so, you know, you just fill it out and submit it, and it'll tell you, you know, you might need to check with your online teaching and learning center to, you know, brush up on some of these skills. Or if you know how to do all this stuff, then you, in that particular section of the readiness, you're ready. I've posted some videos, and you can get to them both from within the course and then also from YouTube. As I said, this is an openly licensed resource, and so the materials are meant to be adapted and adopted and remixed in various ways. So if you happen to be an instructional designer, you might want to use some of these materials, some of these videos or other materials in other ways other than like within the box of the self-paced course. So I'm just letting you know that you could actually come here, and here's a playlist of all the videos in the course, and take a look at them, and then, you know, as you are completing the faculty readiness activities, you can also revisit those videos sort of independently if you want to do that. And of course, you can track yourself along the way. In the let me go back to the readiness place. Here, there's also a checklist for all of the readiness activities so that you can keep track of all the little inventories, little self-assessments that you took, and all of the different things that, you know, that page is asking you to do, and all the videos that it's asking you to take a look at as well. All right, so let's go back to so let me give you a tour of the way that once you've done the readiness activities, you come back to the interested course and engage with the materials that are here. The way that the course is set up is that you follow a path through 3 consecutive modules, and that's going to give you a solid overview of the fundamentals in the online teaching landscape, the competencies, and the effective practices. So if you look at landscape, for example, these are the 3: landscape, competencies, and effective practices. So you'll note that all of them begin with a module overview, and then they present some content. And so here is the one, discovering learning online. And so there's a bunch of information on this particular page. There's a video, and then there's the 10 myths. And then you have the opportunity to join an asynchronous conversation if you want to. It's an optional activity, and we always provide you with some more resources to explore. So if you're interested in the topics covered in this particular content you know, section of the landscape module, then you can. I mentioned that the resource is also intended to give you some definitions, and so here are a bunch of definitions that you can review to see, you know, what is meant by any of these different terms and terminology. We have a lot of, as I mentioned, videos incorporated into the materials. And so you'll see, I don't know if any of you might know Bill Pells from Herkimer, talking about why one should teach online. There is, Aaron, I don't remember his name, but anyway, Greg Ketchum down here, and Bob Yavitz from Tompkins Cortland, talking about what excites them about online learning and about delivering their online course. And then there we have some videos from some online students talking about advice that they would give to faculty. And you'll see that all the pages, you know, present some content either in text or in video or in graphic, like infographic type format. Then we always give you some information for more to explore. And then there's also always opportunities to participate in the optional conversations. So every module you'll see ends with a check your understanding little mini quiz or self-test. And so you basically, you know, go through the content and answer the quiz questions, and then, you know, you ask for feedback once you've completed the little self-test. So that's how every module is organized: the overview, the content, the quiz to check your understanding, and so forth. Now, I mentioned there were two ways to do this, you know, to interact with this self-paced resource. The one way was the mapped out journey, which kind of walks you step by step logically through, you know, the first module, then the second one. The other way that you can use this resource is more like a website, and we called that the meandering way. And this video gives you kind of an overview similar to what we're doing today, so that you can decide how you want to interact with the materials. So you can use this just like a website, and you can come and take a look at what the content is, and you could choose to start over in competencies or over in effective practices. If you already feel like you know, if you take a look at one of the pages and you feel like you know all that stuff already, if you have some experience teaching online, then you can just skip around to the thing, you know, to explore the content kind of in your own way based on what interests you. You could even just go through and take all the quizzes, it's self-paced and it's not reported to anyone. So it's just for your own knowledge and understanding if you're interested to see how you would rate based on this content and the questions that we're asking. You can do it in that way as well. I think like with the mapped out journey, you can also use that checklist for the mapped out journey to track what you have done in your own meandering way. So you just use the same checklist and just check off the things. If you wanted to keep track, you don't have to, but if you wanted to keep track of what you've done and seen, so that you can know the next time you come back to the resource what you'd already done, you could do that. I think that you know, you should know that both of those options are going to cover all the same content and information. They have the same resources and the same opportunities to engage in those optional conversations that I mentioned, and for the assessments to check your understanding all along the way. I think both options, no matter what option you choose, either the more formal mapped out journey, let me get back over there, or here we go, or the meandering way, no matter which one you choose, you can use this, you know, that resource, the checklist, to track your work along the way. So I don't want you to forget, or I want to go over a little bit, you know, so I mentioned that there were optional conversations that were available. And we did this because we really believe that networking and engagement and interaction with peers and with others who have more experience is really a fundamental aspect of building online community, and in having a true community of practice where you have a continuum of people who are either novices or masters and every point in between. It's important important for people to engage no matter what point on that continuum you happen to sit. So we want to provide an optional opportunity for folks to interact and engage with others who might be interested as well. And some may have less experience than you, some may have much more experience than you. No matter what, everybody who engages in that way is interested in online teaching and learning and continuously improving and so forth. So I wanted to mention that one of the options here in the menu is those optional conversations that I mentioned. You will, in order to participate in that, you will need to become a member of this group, and then you will need to join the specific interested in online enabled education group in our online community site. And all the information to do that is under the the instructions, and all of the links and everything is under the conversations link that I was just showing you. So the next menu item is that if you complete all of the activities for this course, for the self-paced course, you can earn a badge if you would like to. You certainly don't have to, but if you're like me, you may love badges. And so we do have a badge available for anyone who would like to, complete the course and then submit their evidence and you can see what the criteria is here. We just ask you a couple of simple questions, and then you write a reflection, and then you can earn your badge. So I think, I wanted to show you the badge itself. This is the actual badge. We use a platform called Credly. So in order to collect your badge, once you've actually submitted the evidence, you will have to get an account in Credly, and then we can issue you the badge at any time. And any time you create your account, the badge will be sitting there waiting for you. So the other part about the community and about networking that I wanted to make sure to mention was, so that we can continue this conversation beyond, this webinar, is to invite you to join the SUNY Online Teaching Fellows Community of Practice. And you can, Erin will pop the link in the chat, but we have it organized by roles. So if you're here in this session, you definitely would, the interested in online enabled education would be a good choice for you. It's a very, easy form to fill out. We just essentially need your name and your email address, and where did it go? Here it is. Your name, your email address, and whichever institution you're affiliated with. And if you happen to not be from SUNY, we also have an option for non-SUNY folks. And we want to know what your primary role is as well, just so that we can know who you are, a little bit more about who you are, and can target communications better. By joining this, it's really to give you information based on the role that you say you are and the things that we offer, like this webinar. So if you want to continue conversations and get an email now and again about events like this one or other activities or other resources we produce, then joining as a fellow will give us the information to be able to contact you about things. This is the online teaching website. If you're interested, it's a blog and an informational website. There are a lot of resources here, and a lot of information that you can explore depending on your role. If you're an ID, there's stuff for IDs. If you're faculty, there's lots of information and resources for faculty. The main thing that we do here is to develop resources for online faculty and for online instructional designers to help make their work more effective, more efficient, easier. So I invite you to take a look at that at that resource. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was, and I guess maybe more for instructional designers, if you were trying to build some kind of a faculty development event around this resource, this is a flyer that I put together so that you could put that up or send it out to folks to get them interested in attending your professional development activity. So all of this stuff, as I said, is openly licensed to freely available to anyone, regardless of your, affiliation with SUNY. And I think that I have covered basically everything that I meant to. Erin, where are we with any questions?
Yeah, great. So I have a visitor. My cat is wanting some attention, as always. We
I
do
have to see.
I know
Oh,
it's only like
pretty.
part of her right now. But we do have a question, really good question from Vicki and from Ken. Same kind of question, wondering about relating RSI requirements to teaching asynchronously and asynchronous course design. And I did point them to the Oscar rubric that incorporates RSI and also the webinar we did on that topic.
Did you post a video for that?
I did. The question is also, so suggestions for that, right? So RSI and asynchronous course design, but also whether or not we have a plan to incorporate that, that resource that we have for Oscar into this interested course.
So that's an interesting question. So yeah, I think that this is really meant to be a very foundational, basic overview of what it means to teach online. So the purpose of RSI, it's a new federal regulation for those of you who may not be aware. Let me share my screen so I can show you the graphic. And whoever was asking is aware of Oscar, our online course quality rubric. And we do a whole session just on RSI, like this one, that's actually more like 45 minutes long. So regular and substantive interaction is a new Department of Education federal regulation that just came out July 1st, 2021. And it really is intended to help the federal government understand, online teaching and learning as distinct from correspondence courses for the purpose of financial aid. So it is a very, very narrow lens that this regulation and compliance with this regulation is looking at. Any good online course assumes interaction between the instructor and the students in scheduled and predictable and substantive ways. And that's the essence of RSI. And so Oscar was, and I would say, to my knowledge, I don't know of any correspondence courses in SUNY at this time. I'm not saying that it's not possible that there is, but anyone who interacts with SUNY online, workshops or materials or whatever, and that's basically what the Interested in Online course is trying to level set, right? A MOOC that has no interaction with the instructor is, unless something is layered on top of the MOOC, that's not going to be in compliance with that regulation. So the federal government wants to know this because of financial aid. So they don't want to give financial aid to correspondence courses. They only want to give the financial aid to courses that are true cohorts of students interacting with each other and with the instructor and with the content, and it is entirely for the purpose of financial aid. So RSI is a very important thing to build awareness about amongst online faculty and instructional designers and everybody, because at the course level, at the instructor level, at the institutional level, there are requirements, and we have to be able to demonstrate compliance if we're ever asked. And so we built, OSCAR existed before RSI. We just released a new version in September that has layered on top of OSCAR the RSI language, as well as reinforced practices and strategies, and kind of conceptually the understanding of what RSI is meant to do and how to actually incorporate it into your online instruction. And so there are a number of standards in OSCAR that either directly or indirectly can be used to support RSI. And then we talk a little bit about how OSCAR supports RSI and so forth. So the trick with RSI is that it has to be instructor initiated, the interaction, and it has to be scheduled and predictable and substantive. And so, that doesn't mean that only RSI is important or relevant or necessary to address to make a high quality course, because it only is looking at the interaction between the instructor and the student. And as we know, or as I hope that as you build your expertise in online teaching and learning, it's not only interaction with the instructor that is important. In fact, the second highest predictor of student learning and satisfaction is the quantity and quality of interaction between students. So there has to be, and if you believe in social constructivist pedagogy, then that you have to design activities that encourage and facilitate interaction between students for them to really learn and apply and get feedback on what they're thinking, what they're learning, how they're applying what they're learning, and so forth. So RSI is one piece of the information that folks need to be aware of in terms of designing a high quality course. But it is not everything. And the way to address RSI is to simply make it initiated by the instructor, make some aspects of your course initiated by the instructor, make it scheduled, predictable, and about the course. So any social presence activities, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do social activities with students or facilitate it between students. It just means that doesn't count as RSI. So you have to have other stuff in your course that you could show and demonstrate compliance with that regulation. Does that help? Like I said, we do a whole workshop just on this. And if you're interested, Erin put the link to the recording of that session in the chat. And then, we will be doing this again, probably in the spring, right, Erin? The one on RSI.
Yeah, I believe so. I'll look up the date for you.
Yeah.
Alexandra, this is Vicki. If I could, it does. But I was worried because, well, not worried, but concerned because part of the asynchronous element is the flexibility. So I was going to incorporate office hours, but when as I was working on it, I thought, well, maybe I should also say if this set office hour schedule doesn't work for you, you can also contact me and we'll work something out. And as I worked through that, I thought I saw my asynchronous going out the window.
Yeah, so asynchronous, if the course is 100% asynchronous, you can do the office hours asynchronously as well, right? So you could, if you wanted to, you could do it in the same way that the other aspects of the course are asynchronous if you were worried about that. The RSI doesn't say that it has to be synchronous or face-to-face in any way. It's just saying it has to be initiated by the instructor and predictable and scheduled and substantive, right? It needs to be about feedback that they're getting in the course, or it needs to be some additional help that they need on a particular concept or topic. And that can be accomplished asynchronously as well. I mean, we've had for years and years and years, we've had, thousands of faculty run their office hours in an asynchronous way. Now, of course, today, with Zoom and with, you know, all the webinar technologies, it's easy to set up virtual synchronous office hours, and you can schedule that and determine, you know, how much of that and when and how you want to implement that as you are available and can do it. So you know, I've seen faculty do those kinds of things where it's, you know, any week any student can sign up to meet with the instructor on times that the instructor has laid out that they're available, or it could be that they do it, you know, 2 or 3 times a semester only, where they have a block of days and times where they're available to do that. So I hope that helps, Vicki.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. Gave me-
Remember that you're in control, right? You know, it's not that it's up to the student, you know, to determine these things. You can set your boundaries, and you know your students, so you'll know, and you know your discipline, so you'll know what you feel is needed in terms of that kind of additional, you know, either additional help or additional feedback on assignments or whatever. What you want to try and avoid doing in an online course, though, is ending up setting up individual tutorials with each student, right? Then you know, my husband would divorce me. I would have no time to do anything.
Very
And,
good point.
yeah. So you just need to understand what, you know, what you think your students need, and then work out a plan that is actually livable, doable for you. And of course, you know, you want to listen to your students, and there's always the exception of somebody who, you know, has an emergency or really needs extra help or whatever. There's, you know, there's always that happens in face-to-face as well. But if you think that through and set up a plan, and as you experiment with it, you do it one way the first time, and if that works, that's awesome. You always ask your students for feedback on stuff too, and if it doesn't work, then change it the next time you do it, or run it a couple of times to make sure that it actually doesn't work, because sometimes it might just be that cohort of students. So you know, every time you teach, you're going to learn more and more about what the students need and how much of you need to, you know, plan and invest.
And I think your point is well taken about when, because there are certain points in the modules that they might need more. So
it's true. It's true. Time is a really interesting concept in an asynchronous course, right? It doesn't mean that you're available 24/7, number one. You determine that, and you can lay that out in your expectations. And that's actually part of RSI. That's setting expectations for the students so that they know when to contact you and how, right? So if you prefer not getting a call at your home at dinner time, then you tell them when and where you are available to, you know, take calls, if that's how you do it. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about, you know, I can't remember, but you know, you are in, days of the week, time is really important asynchronously. So that thing about not being available 24/7 is super important, but also thinking about and reconceptualizing and thinking about when things are due, and when you're actually, if it's asynchronous, when you're actually going to review student work. So if you're not going to review if you have it due on Friday at midnight, but you're not going to start reviewing it until Monday morning, that kind of doesn't make sense. Those midnight and Monday, Friday kind of dates are sort of historical flotsam from face-to-face instruction in some ways. If you're really dealing with adult students and with an asynchronous teaching and learning environment, you want to really think through who are your students and when are they working and what times are they working. So for me, who I'm actually currently in a PhD program, and my only day to work is Sundays, right? So having things due on a Friday it means I have to work a week ahead of time in order to meet those deadlines. So it's really important to think about that. And it's going to be different depending on what level your students are, depending on what your discipline is, depending on what your time and availability are. So you have to consider all of that, put that into the mix as you're determining, your schedule and your due dates and your, all of your assessments, all of the assignments and when they're due. So all of that you need to think about. And, I don't want folks to feel daunted if you've never taught online before, because, the first time you do something, you're learning. And with online, you're learning not only the pedagogical best practices and becoming aware of some of those, you're also learning the technology. And so I want you to be gentle with yourself and allow yourself to think about this is a learning process, and the nature of online instruction and online course design is iterative. So every time you teach the course, you'll learn more, and you can then use that information to improve your own teaching and your own design of your course for the next time you teach it. So yeah, good luck, Vicki.
Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you.
Anything else, Erin, that you saw in the chat?
I don't have any other questions, but I did put the interested resource again in the chat so that you could go back to that, and the recording link for all of our webinars that we've had for the past, actually, I think we have 2 years worth on there now at this point in that repository. So that is there for you, and today's recording will be posted there as well.
All right, well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm going to hang out here for a little bit in case anyone decides they have an additional question. And in the meantime, if you've got to run, I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us for this session today. I hope to see you at the next one. Erin, when is our next one?
We have them in January. Let's see.
So in
January
January.
25th.
Okay.
Will be our next one.
I hope to see you again at that session. I hope to hear back from you if you do the course and if you have feedback. I hope you'll join the community so that we can continue this conversation, become a fellow, and get your badge and do the conversations and all of that stuff. We love to hang out and talk about this. And we have a lot of people in SUNY who have been doing this for a long time, colleagues, peers of yours at other institutions, and even outside of the SUNY system. So I will look forward to interacting and engaging with you in our other platforms for that purpose, our other community events and activities. Thank you so much. And yes, happy holidays to all. I'm going to hang out in case anyone decides they want to chat. Erin, I think you can stop